Third down and 20.
I guess we'll kick it off. Had a monster game last night. We're recording on Tuesday. On Monday night, Mark Andrews just went crazy. Bait or great?
Can I answer both? Is that possible?
Yeah. I'll allow it.
I put out a tweet. I remember there was a lot of Mark Andrews panic, and I put out a tweet. I'm like, listen, if you need a tight end, go and buy Mark Andrews, because I think it was right before they played the Lions, because it's like, hey, he's going to go off against the Lions. The Lions can't stop a nosebleed, let alone a good tight end. And like Andrews is in a decent spot. Right now, I think we're starting to get to the Joe Mixon paradox with him, where the owners are going to see these recent performances and expect it to continue. Yeah. A buyer's going to be like, oh, well, what about the down weeks? I think this is just the Mark Andrews that we've expected. I still think that Mark Andrews is going to be plagued by a lack of opportunity a lot of games, where he's not that tight end that's going to go out there and get like 120 targets, which is really what you want him to be. So I'm going to lean a little bit more bait than great, but at the same time, we can't act like this dude isn't a top 6 tight end for a reason.
He is.
Mark Andrews or TJ Hawkinson?
Hawkinson.
I'll take Hawkinson. I think I'm at the point with Andrews. If you can get a first for him, I'd probably still do it. In any kind of deal, if you can get a late first. Because like Frank mentioned, the volume is just the problem. There's going to be a lot of weeks where he goes off, and then some weeks where he just has like 4 or 5 points, and it's like throughout the season total, it looks nice and you take like the average per game, but like owning him throughout the season, you feel some of that frustration. And then Bateman is about to enter the picture in that passing offense. And Bateman's going to be a presence in that offense. And he's going to take some of those red zone targets. He's a big receiver. So like like Frank said, he's a top 6 tight end, but I think I'd still take any first for him.
Well, also, let's just look at it, right? The past 2 games that Mark Andrews, or the past 3 games that Mark Andrews has gone off, I mean, Lamar Jackson's just gone off. 287 against the Lions, and it should have been more if Hollywood Brown was able to catch a pass. The Broncos, he puts up 316 yards, and that was a weird game for the Broncos because Teddy Bridgewater got hurt. They just couldn't really move the ball in general, so the Ravens were able to just kind of run their offense the entire game. And then obviously that game against the Colts where Lamar Jackson just went absolutely buck fucking wild in the second half. And he just went crazy. I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's a great player. He's not going to be throwing for 300 yards a game. This is not who he is. We're going to see a lot of games like the first 2 weeks against the Chiefs, against the Raiders, where he throws for 230, 240.
I think you're going to see more of the Lions game without the Hollywood passes. Drops. So what was that? How many yards was that in that?
He put up 287.
I think that's a fair number because I mean we keep talking about Bateman to the point where we're talking to him like he's DeAndre Hopkins coming back, but I truly think Bateman is going to be an impact on this offense. Not in the first couple weeks because he's still a rookie and he's coming back from an injury, but week 8 or so, I don't know when their bye is, but like in that later part of the season, like this is an offense that can actually throw the ball and doesn't need to rely on the run, but they still have that run if they need to get creative. And it starts to look a whole lot more like a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs team than it does the typical Lamar Jackson team we've seen. I just think that's the direction that they're kind of going.
I'm looking at it, right? Like his MVP year, he was averaging 208.5 passing yards a game. Last year it was $183. I agree with you, and it's going to be higher than that. But right now, he's averaging 300 yards a game. I just do not see that continuing, especially with the way that the Ravens' offense is. They're going to try and run the ball, especially as we get later into the season and the weather gets colder and whatnot.
That's true. I also do think something that's kind of weird and throw me off. The running backs are less involved this year in the Ravens' offense than either of the past 2 years. So it's kind of tough to evaluate that. Like, if that's going to continue, how's that going to look next year when Dobbins is back and he's a stud? You have to give him his touches. Like, I don't. It's tough to predict how it's going to play out.
With recency bias, people are going to expect the Ravens' offense to continue just going crazy. And I listen. I own.
Well, the thing is,
what are you going to
say? They were. I forget if it was them or the Patriots, but one of them was the lowest pass attack last year. and whichever one it wasn't, the other one wasn't that far behind. But like, I'm not going to say the only way you can go is up, but it feels like this is a team that's trending more to the past than previously. So yeah, maybe they don't average 300 yards per game, but I definitely think 250 yards per game is certainly feasible. I think 280 yards also isn't out of the question. I just think that's the way they're trending more so than a team that's going to be passing for 200 yards a game.
You want to know what I'm wondering is I wonder if they're just playing more snaps a lot of these games because Lamar, everything is up for Lamar. His carries per game, yards per game.
I think what it is the running back attempts are the least it's been. I'm telling you, like none of the running backs are really rushing the ball. So the entire offense is Lamar Jackson right now.
Yeah,
It's not like
I think
it's crazy.
They had like
the
20.
past two.
Dude, he is fucking ridiculous, dude.
Oh yeah, no, it's been insane. The past 2 years, it's been like 1,000-yard rusher each year. And last year, I don't think it was 1,000-yard rusher, but like Dobbins and Gus Edwards both had a few hundred yards. This year, that's not the case. And then I don't know how it's going to be back next year when they have their starting back.
No, he had 1,000 yards last year, 1,005.
Who?
Lamar.
Lamar? No, I meant like one of the running backs.
And
with Edwards.
Surprise, surprise, he's on
Dobbins.
pace for another 1,000-yard season.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with 17 games.
Yeah.
But I'm going to
All right.
lean more bait than great for Andrews because the recency bias, I think people are expecting this to become a staple, and I don't think that's a thing.
I'm not paying up for him. That's where I'll cut, I
Yeah.
guess. Kareem
Yeah,
Hunt.
we're in the mixing paradox now. He's mixing.
Yeah,
Mixing.
mixing. I hope like 15 years from now that's the thing, and we're just talking about it. All right. Kareem Hunt, bait or great?
Where's Jake?
I don't know. I think he's bait.
Jake made it a point to text me, suck it. Kareem Hunt's RB6 and Nick Chubb is RB11. And then I responded, like, check that at the end of the season. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't expect him to continue in RB1 if that's the question. Like, I think Nick Chubb is still a significantly better running back to have. I think Kareem Hunt's he's like an RB2. I just think he's had a couple of just kind of crazy weeks. How do you guys feel?
Dude, I don't know.
I think he's bait.
I'm
It's
so
weird.
on
No,
and
that's
off
what I'm
with it
saying.
because
It's
he's
weird.
a great player. He really is a really good player. Here's the reason I'm gonna say great, and it's not a great answer, but dude, he's just a good fucking player. And regardless of whether or not he's an RB1 or not, he's just gonna remain being relevant. So maybe whether that's a high-end RB2, a low-end RB2, I'm willing to say great just because I know that Kareem Hunt is going to be in that top 24 conversation. He's instantly a high-end RB1 if Nick Chubb gets hurt. So I'll go great. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, you ask Jake what his price is. Jake's going to be like, 3 firsts. So it's just going to be like, what?
At the price of bait. I'm out.
And the freaking Browns running backs are getting like what they had like 250 yards last game.
Yeah,
well, it's just
Nick
not
Chubb went
sustainable.
crazy.
All right. Last two, Emmanuel Sanders. I'm saying at the price he's at, great.
I was wrong.
Dude, speaking of that hold league, Emmanuel Sanders is one of the dudes that I have held for like so long. And you talk about dips, turns, ups, and downs. Like Emmanuel Sanders has been a perennial buy low for like 9 years.
Is he doing what James Conner was doing?
Yeah, basically. Kinda. Just like
what was James Conner doing again?
Oh, here we go. It's just because everyone's like, oh, well, he's old, so he's only going to be there for one more year, but he's going to be good this year for like the past 4 years. And he just moves teams. He's a good player and a good offense.
I think he kind of got underrated by everyone who's expecting Gabriel Davis to do what Sanders is doing, but it hasn't happened. So I'm with you guys. Great.
All right.
It's just he's
finally
awkward to buy. Oh. Sorry, I have to mention this because like people have offered me for Emmanuel Sanders before, and I mean, you can't tell me that as a contending team, you're not necessarily interested in seeing what the price tag is for Emmanuel Sanders. It's just that No one wants to sell him for a third, and no way in hell you're buying him for a second.
Yeah, he's one of those players in
Yeah.
that paradox where it's like, as a contender, you're like, I'll pay an early third for him, but I'm not trying to give you a second round pick.
Feels like a pick upgrade is the easiest solution.
Probably.
He's just
Probably.
not like right now, maybe because he's on the Bills. It's a different story. In previous seasons, he was just not in a sexy enough situation to really want to invest in.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah,
and now is it even
all
worth
right. Probably. Yeah. Well,
Maybe.
I don't know. He's ranked right around. He's actually ranked right around Will Fuller right now.
But see, like, dude, oh my, like, I would gladly turn Emmanuel Sanders into Will Fuller just because of the upside. I can pick up a guy that can give me Emmanuel Sanders-esque production relatively easily, like a 1-year rental.
Yeah. All right, last guy wrapping up season 2, episode 10. We've got Michael Pittman.
All right, guys, let's all say it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
2, 3.
Bait.
Wow.
Had to say it twice.
Yeah. I almost said great just to mess with it, but I figured that'd be better.
Dude, the dialogue on Twitter after the Monday night game was starting to get nasty about Michael Pittman.
Dude, it's just because you have so many of these truthers that, like, they do not care what happens.
Dude, they've been waiting 2 years for that touchdown catch.
All the people
he jumped over the corner.
All the Denzel Mims people have just switched to Michael Pittman, it seems like.
It's the same group.
It's like a religion now.
Yeah, it's he was getting compared to some receivers yesterday on Twitter that I was like, this is nuts. I just think it's kind of you want to talk about the result about a lack of receivers. There's Michael Pittman. Like, it's who does he ever? He's competing with Zach Pascal for targets.
Also against a very injured Ravens defense.
Like, yeah. I don't even know if when T.Y. Hilton comes back, he's gonna beat out T.Y. Hilton for targets. Like, he didn't last year. So I don't know. He's bait to me, especially with how much people are talking. If I owned him, I'd see what people are thinking about him, because everyone apparently is just coming out of the woodworks. Like, all these truthers came out yesterday night and they were like, Pittman mossed that corner, and they're just all going crazy. It's like he should be viewed in that same tier with all those good young wide receivers and like Higgins and Claypool. And I'm just like, it's not even close to those guys for me.
I definitely sold too low. I mean, listen, I don't hate Pittman. The problem I have with Pittman is that, like, dude, I am not happy if I'm starting Pittman any given week. I'm not out there like, oh, can't wait to flex Pittman this week. You know, like, no shot.
Not at all.
I'm scared. I'm scared that he's going to have like a 2-point game. Like, he's been great up until this point. If you bought him low, congratulations. It was probably a good deal. But if you are expecting him and want him to be a wide receiver 1 and even like a top 24 guy, I just don't think it's there.
No.
Maybe for this year, but I think that'll be it. Like, dude, you tell me the number 1 need for the Colts on offense is easily receivers. Like, they have everything else.
I was going to say, like, if you don't think they're addressing that this offseason.
I think if even like Juju shows up, he's in trouble.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you can, there's easily, Michael Pittman's not out.